Yes, good evening everyone, and welcome to the TNG review show. Some uplifting music there for you on a Wednesday evening. I'll try something different from the music point of view. I like it. So yes, welcome one and all. There we go, you can see us. Good evening, Maz, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Jolly good.
No uniform for you this week?
No uniform for me, no. I thought I'd go with merch. It's my, I haven't worn my merch that G and LJ got me for my birthday recently. So I figured, well, as we're missing G-Star today, and LJ being poorly, I thought I'll wear their merch. I'll support them and show I'm thinking about them with my Montalban merch this evening. So, yes, we miss you, G-Star, and hope to see you next time. So, yes. Hello, Smiler the Wrench on the chat. It's good to see you here on board with us. I'm ready to take any questions. Yes, I'm wearing the merch. And at least Smiler's appreciated my music choice this evening. Yes. So, are you all prepared to talk the next generation?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm always prepared to talk about the next generation, but yes, ready. I have specifically prepared on these 2 episodes.
Well, that's good. That's good. I've crammed for the last 2 hours.
Oh, I did mine yesterday.
Oh,
That's
did you?
unusual for me. Head of the game.
Yeah. I watched them twice. I watched them last week. I like to just sit back with my feet up and watch them leisurely, and then watch them a second time whilst making notes, you know.
Yeah. So
I did watch them last week, but just to get my notes down, I crammed it in the last 2 hours. But good evening, Stu Plum and Lindy Hop. Welcome on board. Oh, she's sort of on board. Lindy Hop's probably getting her gin sorted out, and which
I don't think she's ever that on board with TNG, to be fair, but at least she keeps Stu Plum company.
Yeah, I must say I'm missing a glass of red wine tonight. That's a miss of me. Yeah. Back at you. Yeah. It's to Smiler. There we go. Virtual hugs all around. Virtual hugs for everyone in the Montalban community. So, first episode we're talking about tonight is The Last Outpost, episode 4 in the first season of The Next Generation, and the first episode to feature Ferengi.
Yes.
It's quite a fun episode, I think. I think we got 2 good episodes, reasonably good episodes to talk about tonight, which is good. So yeah, this is the first episode featuring the new, as it was, bad guys. They were set to be in the first series of TNG, and so
Wrench bringing you wine. I thought that might happen. I knew that was going to happen.
I might have said
she's such a good wrench.
She's so good to me, I tell you. I am blessed. I am blessed. I cannot.
Well, lie. I'm glad you have that now.
Oh yeah. No, you don't feel guilty now.
I wasn't gonna rub it in, but you know.
Brilliant. Oh dear. Oh, that is funny. Right. Oh dear. Okay, so The Last Outpost. We open up the teaser before the intro with the Enterprise is chasing down a Ferengi ship who they suspect has stolen some T90 energy converters from a unmanned outpost. And they're quite excited about it because although they know about the Ferengi, because they've only just sort of as the Federation's expanding, as they've only just sort of started interacting with them, nobody's actually made visual contact with them yet. So they're quite interested to find out what they're all about and what they look like and that sort of thing. But the pursuit ends as the Ferengi enter into a planetary system called the Delphi Arden system and come to a stop around a planet. As they go into orbit around the planet, the Ferengi fire an energy beam at the Enterprise, which sort of does a little bit of damage to the shields, but doesn't really do too much. And then the Enterprise seems to lose all power and be completely immobilized. And they think it's the Ferengi, and they think maybe the Ferengi have got a lot greater technology than they thought. And then it goes to the sort of like the Star Trek intro, space, the final frontier. Yeah. I'm not using any clips this week. It's just going to be us talking because I was completely copyright striked by CBS last week for using their clips. It seems, and I've looked into this, and it seems that it's okay if you're monetized. You know, you're a bigger YouTube channel that's monetized and gets revenue, because CBS will copyright strike you, and then just take all your revenue, and they're happy with that. So you leave your video up, but they'll just suck all the money out of it. But if you're not monetized and they can't get any money out of you, they'll copyright strike you and block your content. So it just disappears off of YouTube. So, that's fun.
You've been a naughty boy.
Yep, so the last TNG review show disappeared off YouTube for 3 days. And if you go back and look at it now, it's had all the clips stripped out of it. So, won't be doing that again. But what we do have is I'm using Fandom, so Memory Alpha, which is like a fan Wikipedia of Star Trek. They have images and rundowns of each episode. So what we can do is we can cut to images every now and again. So imagine a clip. So this is the Enterprise meeting the Ferengi ship for the first time. And when I saw this as a teenager, early teens, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I thought the Ferengi ship looked really cool. And also, if you look at and I don't know if they did this on purpose, but if you look at the Ferengi ship from above and have the arcing circle bit at the bottom, it looks exactly like the resistance symbol in Star Wars. Fun fact. Whether they ever meant it to, I don't know, but it does anyway. I feel the need now to show you what I mean. Hang on. Is it Rebels logo? Here we go. So you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. That is like looking down at a Ferengi ship from above. It looks just like that. So there you go. There it is. Pretty cool looking ship. Anyway, they're stuck. Yes, Stuplo, they are little rubbers. They are.
And Three Stooges, Lindy Hop says.
Three Stooges, yeah, they are, yeah. When we meet them on the planet in a bit, yeah. So Picard sends Geordi to engineering to chat's not visible. Let me just do. I know when I see the chat windows disappeared, I have Smiler in my ear. I can imagine Smiler telling me, chat window. Oh, evening, Karen. Hi, no worries. Picard sends Geordi down to engineering because he can't get a response from engineering. And Data summarizes the Ferengi as being like Yankee traders of like the 18th century. And describes them as the worst quality of capitalists.
You notice the little thing with Picard and France at that point.
Yeah. He says, I doubt they wear red, white, and blue or look anything like Uncle Sam. And Worf leans over and he's like, who's Uncle Sam? And Data looks all like chuffed that he knows something that Worf doesn't know. And then Picard's quite pleased because he knows, because Yar's also confused, and Picard's like, I get that reference. And he goes on to say, like, well, they've got the colours of the flag of the USA's red, white and blue. But of course, France has the proper colours of blue, white and red. And then Data goes, and Germany has red, black and gold. And and he's like, yes, thank you, Data. He's like, well, you brought it up. Yeah. I'll see. Now, Stu Plum's been making notes. Look, he's been
Uncle
making
who?
notes. Yeah, that's what Worf says. He leans across and says, "Uncle who?" Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Picard
yes, he
says,
did. Yeah,
nerd.
I made a note of that later.
Yes. Yeah. You're getting ahead of us. Yeah.
Well, she's been learning French, see?
Yeah, it's not Doctor Who, it's Uncle Who. Yes, so Wolf's line yes. And then down in engineering, Geordie comes up with a way of getting out of it by jumping to maximum warp. And when he describes it to Riker, he gives one of those like Geordie season 1 woo-hee! Like fist pumps in the air. That's really quite cringe. Which I just think that's just so season 1 Geordie.
I think it's around that point as well, where when he's describing that plan, or I don't know exactly where in the episode, but he makes a reference to 0.300 milliseconds.
He does, yeah.
Which doesn't really make any sense. It could be 300 milliseconds. It could be 0.3 of a second, or it could be like 0.3 of a millisecond, but 0.300 milliseconds just doesn't make any sense. Anyway,
no,
just one little goof.
I didn't notice that, but yeah, well pointed out. Then Picard.
I'm goof girl today.
Oh, you are a goof girl.
Full of goofs.
You're full of the goofs. I love the goofs. Picard hails the Ferengi, demanding the equipment back because he's deciding, well, the best way is just to be direct. And
he doesn't want to show any weakness.
He doesn't, no. And I think Riker quotes Sun Tzu. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is not to be there, or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. And that Sun Tzu quote's there as a pointer, as a remember this later on. So
what are you looking at?
I'm just reading what Smiler said. We were thinking he was trying to work out his thing as an actor.
Would be Geordie. Yeah. So he can't be expressive with his eyes. So he does other gesticulations instead.
Yes. I get it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's right. They're trying to find his overcompensating for not being able to express his eyes. So he does a number of times make weird whooping things, and I think he is trying to be more of like the junior member of the sort of senior team, by being a bit more enthusiastic. And they were trying to be a bit more jovial with him as well when they beam down to the planet in a minute. Anyway, the Sun Tzu quote. They try the jump in 0.300,000 milliseconds or whatever it is, and that doesn't do anything except for turn all the lights out.
And then Picard says,
"Merde." Merde. Yeah, that's when the merde quote comes out. Yeah. Let's go back to that. So then Data notices the data banks are being processed by something coming from the planet. So someone's going through their data banks, and there's a little comedy moment in that if you watch it back on Netflix at 0.5 speed, you'll see one of the images that flashes up is a picture of a parrot with Gene Roddenberry's face plastered on its head.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't know. I read that somewhere a while ago, and so as I watched it through this afternoon, I put it on slow speed on Netflix to see if I could spot it, and I did spot it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'll have to go back and see that.
I'll see if I can pull up a picture. Hang on. How do you spell parrot? Oh, there you go. Can I find a picture? Roddenberry? This is where I should have... Okay. Well, this is what it looks like anyway. I don't know if you can see this actually, but I don't know if you can see that image there. That picture there.
On the green one.
That green one, yeah.
Ah, yeah.
They use the same this picture here. They use the same image in The Naked Now when Data's looking for the history of the...
Why? What's the...
Data in The Naked Now, Data has to find someone showering in his and her clothing. And he goes through the computer really fast. And one of the images is that image of a parrot with Gene Roddenberry's face, and they reuse it at this point as well. So that was actually from The Naked Now, that one.
So is that all the way through, like different episodes, or?
Yeah, it's in a number of episodes. They use the same set of images that flash on the screen when something's going through the computer core. Because they say one of Gene Roddenberry's nicknames is the Great Bird of the Galaxy, which is
right.
He's got his face on like a parrot's body.
Parrot.
Yeah, there you go.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so that's where Riker's going wooey. Yes. I gotta keep bringing it back up. There we go. So Troy points out that they have been ignoring the planet, and Picard calls a conference call. A conference in the conference room, and so they all go to the conference room. And Yar and Worf are like, "Shoot at them now, preemptive strike." You know, they've already been, deceiving and stolen our stuff. Let's just get in there and shoot them. And Picard doesn't have any of it. And Troy backs and says, well, they're just defending themselves because we were the ones chasing them, so it's not really right just to fire on them. And so Picard agrees with Troy, and then they go back out to the bridge, and Picard hails them and says, well, if you'd like to, present your terms, we can discuss a way forward type thing. And then it goes to an advert break, if there was an advert break.
Then Act 2. I've started putting my notes in acts.
Yeah, so that was Act 1. Now we're on to Act 2. Damon Tarr replies, and to everyone's surprise, surrenders himself. And they were like, oh, that was a bit of a shock.
And offers the life of his second officer.
Yes, of which then Data is like, well, it's a good job we don't have that kind of rule in Starfleet. Because, of course, Data's the second officer on the bridge of the Enterprise. And then back in the observation lounge, Data provides data on the planet. And as he's presenting his data, his finger gets caught in a Chinese finger puzzle, and it's quite funny because he starts off all confident in that, but then as he gets totally distracted by the fact that his fingers are caught in this Chinese finger puzzle, and it requires, I think it's Riker or Picard to show him how to get out of it. And it's a nice it's a nice little funny moment for Data, even though you think, how can you be the cleverest being in Starfleet pretty much, because you're like a supercomputer and not know how to get your fingers out of a Chinese finger puzzle.
Yeah, he's also super strong. So yeah, those two things
Yeah.
combined would indicate, I mean, fairly young children can get their finger out of a finger puzzle. But also in terms of a goof, once the finger puzzle's removed, like the ends of his fingers look kind of pink and normal fleshy coloured because his green data paint is kind of rubbed off.
You goof girl. Well, that's good. That's a good one. I didn't see about that either. That's a new one on me. Yeah. But the nice thing about it is, and this is what, I say it all the time, but I love about the writing in this era of Star Trek is
have those touching sort of human moments.
It's a touching human moment, but also completely ties in with the analogy of the situation they're in, where the Ferengi and the Enterprise are pulling against the planet, and the more they're pulling, the more the planet is locking them in, and so it just is like a play on the whole situation they find themselves in as a ship, not just Data sat in the conference room. It's just very clever writing. Of
course, it also relates to the fact that they're making Sun Tzu quotes as well, which is like a sort of Chinese philosophy.
Yeah.
So it's another sort of tie-in of the theme, I guess.
Yeah. Stu Plum thought his eyes were ultra green in this episode as well. Yeah.
Maybe they're trying different contacts.
They do try different they do. They play around with his look as sometimes he's a little bit more silvery and sometimes he's a bit more yellowy, and they do play with his look. And Data then outlies that the planet was a part of a massive empire called the Tkon Empire, and this was possibly just one outpost in a empire of trillions of people that spread throughout the galaxy. Yeah, and they have this holographic representation of what that looked like. So, Act 3. Unless you got anything else on that one?
No.
They recontact the Ferengi and propose a joint expedition to try to go to the planet and figure their way out of it. The Ferengi are even more suspicious of them now because they've come to the same conclusion. And I quite like is when they're talking to the Ferengi on the screen, there's two things that strike me about it. Is one, the Ferengi make their image really, really big. So when Picard stood in front of the view screen, the Ferengi's head is absolutely ginormous because they're trying to make themselves look like big, mean warriors.
Yeah, and they're possibly compensating for a lack of height in real life.
Height, yes, that was it. And I quite like the fact that the production crew, obviously keeping the series under a budget, couldn't be bothered to actually create a bridge set or anything for the Ferengi who want to know what their culture looks like, so they just give them a plain white background to save money. Those two things make me smile when he's talking to them. But it's like now they've upscaled it to HD. And that face is so ginormous. You can see all the rubber makeup and the lines where.
Oh, really?
You didn't get that one, did you? But I mean, it is very well done. But it was probably not quite as noticeable when it was in standard definition on small screens. But now we've all got
to be fair, I watched mine on my little Microsoft Surface Pro tablet rather than a big screen, so I wouldn't have seen that, I guess.
Yeah.
So they also, when they were put on screen, they find humans really, really hideously ugly, which I find quite funny.
Yeah, well, they probably would because we probably look really strange to them. like with their tiny little ears and stuff. It must be
Probably the same for all aliens, though. But the Ferengi are the only ones that go on about it a lot.
yeah, yeah. Picard sends down Riker, Data, LaForge, Yar, and Worf. It's quite a big away team. And so they beam down, and Riker, they all find themselves like alone. So the planet disrupts the beam down process, and they don't quite end up where they expect to end up. And oh no, we haven't quite got there yet. But Riker finds himself like on the edge of a cliff, looking out across a wasteland, and Data materializes on top of a crystal rock, which he jumps off of to get down, and LaForge finds himself upside down, suspended from the up from the surface of the planet. So I think his foot's caught in like a bit of a cliff or a tree or something, and it's not quite obvious when you first see him there hanging upside down. You just see him kind of hanging upside down. And he's like, I'm just chilling out, just hanging around. He's like, well, something happened to the beam down process. And again, it's playing with LaForge's character, making it a little bit more lighthearted for him, I think, in the first series.
And then the Ferengi appear.
Yes. And that is when, with their whips, they disable everybody and basically stun everybody with their glowy electroplasma whippy things.
And also free Geordi in the process, which is half useful.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when Data jumps off the rock, he analyzes it with a tricorder, and Riker asks him about it, and he just says it's an inert crystalline compound. He says it's nothing to write home about. And Riker's like, nothing to write home about? And he's like, yeah, I did use that in the right context, didn't I? And he's like, yeah, this way. Again, that comes up later. So yes, Act 4, they've been zapped by the Ferengi. And back on the Enterprise, everybody's freezing to death because the Enterprise is now switched off because it's been drained of all its power. And Beverly wants to put her son to sleep rather than face an agonizing death. And Picard's like, no, he's got every right to face death, sort of standing up. And she's like, oh, you're such a man.
There is some sort
like
of
rubbish
thought or criticism to the fact that I think they seem to be, I don't know where they're gathering them, but it looks a bit like 10 Forward or something with big sort of sloping windows. And if the cold from space was pervading into the Enterprise, actually the safer place to go would be right to the core rather than being right by the windows.
Yeah.
So they were gathering all these civilians in the first sort of death zone, basically.
That actually was sick bay.
Oh, right.
But it's the observation lounge set dressed as sick bay, so it has the sloping windows.
Yeah.
Sick bay is actually supposed to be in the middle of the saucer section, but
yeah, which would have been the right place to put them
right.
rather than by windows. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the set gives it the wrong illusion. Yeah. But, yes. We got any? LaForge is being upside down your thing. We've all wanted to put Wheaton to sleep. Yes. Yes. They do have double glazing, Stu Plum. In fact, they have oh god, what's it called? Transparent aluminum. It's not even glass. It's transparent, double glazed transparent aluminum. So there you go. I could say aluminum.
Wasn't that developed by Scotty in the 1970s or something?
1984.
1984.
Yeah, something like that. So yes, they're all freezing to death. And on the planet, Quark, who turns out is the leader of the away team from the Ferengi side. He's the first officer for Damon, whatever his name was. is actually Quark from Deep Space Nine, or Armin Shimmerman. He's not actually playing the character Quark in this.
No, he's just playing a different Ferengi.
But I like to think he's Quark. A young
I just
Quark.
had like Quark exclamation mark smiley face in my notes.
So Quark is planning to blame the humans for the deceit, and it wasn't them that got the drop on them. It was the humans were planning to get the drop on the Ferengi, and they were sickened the fact that they adorned themselves in gold. How could they use such a precious material?
Which is actually kind of a goof, or at least later on in Deep Space Nine and such. The Ferengi go on about the fact that gold is basically valueless. The only point of gold is to have it in gold pressed platinum. But gold itself is so common across, all the galaxies and stuff that that it's actually not a valuable item. Whereas in this, they're treating it like it's really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, because I only just realised recently in watching Deep Space Nine, we're on season 7 now, that latinum is actually like mercury. It's like a like a liquid metal, and it's suspended inside like a gold casing, which is why it's gold pressed latinum. I didn't realise that. So I only just learnt that this time round.
Because Morn stores some, doesn't he?
He does.
One of his many stomachs.
That's right. That's where I got it from. Yeah. He coughs it up into a glass, and Quark's like, "You beauty." You beautiful person.
No wonder all your hair's fallen out.
That's right. I love Morn. I like the fact as well in that episode, they get a random member of the bar. Sorry, this is going into Deep Space Nine channel. They get a random member of the bar, just a customer, to sit in Morn's chair, so that Morn's chair is always occupied. This is Quark's way of just making sure he just has constant customers, but it seems really touching. But the actor that they get out of the crowd to sit in Morn's spot is Morn.
Is he the one that plays Morn?
Yeah, it's Morn
that's cool.
without his makeup on. So,
that's cool.
He gets to sit on Morn's chair just as himself. Yep. Right, yeah, so, blah, 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 blah. And then, but Yar gets the drop on them. So as they're discussing how they're going to blame this all on the humans, Yar comes up over the ridge with phaser in hand and gets the drop on them. So the humans get the upper hand again. And then Yar tries to, because they're just being generally annoying and running about all over the place. She's got a phaser on stun. She just decides to shoot them. But the energy beam gets diverted into one of the inert crystals. And so then the Ferengi try to shoot her back. They're like, ha ha ha, now it's our turn, and use their whips again. But again, the whip energy gets taken back into the crystals. So they're sort of once again held, without being able to do anything. And then a cloud-like alien arrives, and it's Portal 63. And he sort of announces arrival, and his voice is so loud that the hearing sensitive Ferengi don't like it, and they cower against the noise. Act 5, Maria. We're on to the final act already. This is going well. So, basically Portal's like, you're all savages. You're invading our our realm, and you're all savages and you're all going to die. And Riker tries to explain that the Empire doesn't exist anymore, and that is it's the age of whatever it is, and Data's like, actually it isn't, it's the age of such and such, and he's like, well, there's no such thing, and he's like, actually there's been many of them, it's been like 300,000 years you've been in stasis. And so the Ferengi tried to convince them that the humans are deceptive and trying to trick him. So Portal challenges Riker. So basically they go, who's going to come first? And so he challenges Riker. Worf tries to interject. It's like, No, challenge me, I'm the warrior. But Riker's like, no, settle down. I'll sort this out. And so...
Did you know,
yes.
when Data's speaking to Portal and trying to explain it to him, and he's saying, no, this can't be true, or whatever, and Data says, I'm afraid not.
Yeah.
He uses a contraction.
He does.
Which Data shouldn't be allowed to do.
Oh, there's Portal arriving as a cloud. There he is. Creepy looking dude. Portal 63. The first of 2 bald grey haired people we're going to see in these 2 episodes.
And also Data uses a contraction which goes against programming, but also that Portal wields that staff in a really, obviously double-speeded piece of footage. Which looks really naff.
Yeah. Data also uses a contraction in The Naked Now, where he's explaining about being blown out into space. He uses a contraction twice in that episode. I forgot to mention it in the last review. But it's one of about 6 contractions he uses early on in season 1. I think it's whilst they're trying to sort out Data's character,
Yeah.
They knock that out of him quite soon, I think.
They must have somebody on contraction watch in the filming.
That's right.
Retake.
Retake. Yeah. What was that? Mom got a lay-in that day.
No hours makeup.
Yeah. A bit like the Captain of Discovery at the end of season 3. I'm not gonna mention Discovery. No Discovery. This is a Discovery freezer. So Portal challenges Riker, and he says something like, "He who knows when to fight and when not to fight." And then he does that, wah, 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 and then within millimeters of chopping Riker's ear off, and Riker just sort of stands firm. And he goes, "And what is your answer?" And Riker's fear is the only true enemy. And Portal 63 is really quite enamoured by that, because he's been reading Riker's mind and has learnt all about Sun Tzu, which was earlier in the episode brought up, just for those people that didn't know what Sun Tzu and the Art of War is. It was a lead-in, so you get to this point and you'd be like, oh yeah, that was the bloke that Picard and Riker were talking about in the Enterprise earlier on. And he says, "You're going to have to tell me all about this Sun Tzu chap," and puts his arm around his shoulder and sort of wanders off. And he's like, "Would you like me to destroy the Ferengi for you?" And they're all like clambering all over the back of him, all doing this like thing. They do. But I don't know. Really weird.
That's a really good impression. You should do more impressions of aliens on this show. I think that would be a good feature.
Yeah, there's just that one that goes up to Yar just before that thing, and he like challenges Yar, and he's like, because he doesn't like the fact that females are wearing clothes, and he's just like goes up to her and he's like, yeah. It's like, what are you doing, you weird little creature?
It's good because those Ferengi, they do all act very Ferengi-like. It's like they've got the character of that species down quite well. Like they've, it is a total character thing.
Yeah,
it's very good.
They're really interesting.
Yeah,
it's a bit more than just humans with bumpy foreheads,
Yeah,
which is what you get a lot of.
Or pointy-eared people that go, "That's logical."
Yeah, they have a real different personality, don't they? They're quite alien. But Riker's like, no, they're like, we were like a few hundred years ago or whatever. And we had to learn to grow, and so will they, So we'll help guide them and whatnot. And so and he's like, oh, and can you release the ships? He's like, Paul's like, oh yeah, okay. And then you go onto the bridge, and they're there, like sat on the bridge, like
almost dead.
And then everything comes back on. And they're like, oh, thank God.
And did you notice what happens at that point with Beverly?
No. Oh, she says something. Jean-Luc, I think she says or something.
She says Jean. She calls him Jean, which,
Yeah.
she normally calls him Jean-Luc, as does anybody else that's on a first name basis with him.
Yeah.
It's theorized that that's the only time he ever gets called Jean.
Jean. Yeah. What's next? Oh, there they are, waking up on the bridge. There we go. Blah blah blah. Back on board. Data informs Picard that they get back on board, and he said, "How did it go?" And Data goes, "Oh, it was something to write home about." And Riker thinks it's a good idea to beam over a box of Chinese finger puzzles to the Ferengi. A thank you for all they tried to do. and the Enterprise warps off to its next adventure. So it's a good episode. It's a good introduction to the Ferengi. I think they were, they mentioned that they're all about profit and commerce and trade. They're quite deceitful, weird little things. And so I think it's a good introduction of their character and how they're used in Next Generation. Yep. I think when they came up in this episode, the producers originally were going to make them like the new Klingons, because the Klingons are now part of the Federation and the good guys. And I think their idea was the Ferengi were going to be the new Klingons, the new adversaries, the new big foe.
Yeah.
And they'd fall out and maybe lead to war or something like that. But in the end, the Ferengi ended up just to be too funny and likable to actually make them a really dangerous adversary. So they had to come up with a better, and they do in the second series, they come up with a better adversary instead of the Ferengi, called the Borg. But yes,
like the best foe.
Yeah. But they are great characters, and it was interesting. I completely forgot when I watched this back for the first time that Quark was in it, or Armin Zimmerman, when he was like, I was like, oh, anyhow, yes, I forgot it was Armin Zimmerman.
And I think Rom makes an appearance as an early Ferengi or two, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, yes, I think that's even later in the first season.
Yeah, it's definitely early on somewhere, but
yeah.
Next episode then, yeah?
The next episode, yeah.
I take it Stuplum's Muppets reference was to the Ferengi.
Yeah, I think it was. There's the production crew celebrating something on the bridge. Yes. So, second episode.
Where no one has gone before.
Where no one has gone before.
First piece of trivia. Did you know that wasn't the episode's original name?
No, I didn't.
But do you know what happens when they arrive at the place? What I think Data says? He actually says, where none have gone before. And apparently that was the original name of the episode, but they changed it to where no one has gone before, because it sounds more like, what
the second pilot.
They say in the intro sequence with the
second pilot of the original series with Kirk. The first episode they filmed with Kirk was an episode called Where No Man Has Gone Before. It's about one of the crew turning into a god and kidnapping the ship and trying to make it go across the other side of the galaxy.
So they're echoing that.
So they're echoing Where No Man Has Gone Before, but also in that first series they televised them out of order. So I think Where No Man Has Gone Before, even though it was the second pilot they made after The Cage, I think it was about the 5th episode they aired. So in run order, it came out around the same time this episode came out.
Yeah.
It's about the 5th episode of the original series, and it's about the fifth episode of the TNG series. So that's why they did it like that. So in the teaser before the credits, the Enterprise has rendezvoused with the USS Fearless. So they brushed off the model of the USS Excelsior and pasted it in. Again, it's not. I don't think it's the first time, and it won't be the last time that they use the Excelsior model. And they're picking up a specialist who's been going around starships to improve their warp engines. And Picard have you looked over the specs? And Riker's like, yeah, but he's skeptical because to him the specs that the guy's going to go through look like gibberish. And
they've plugged it into the computer, and the simulations show that it does nothing.
Spouted out nonsense, and Data concurs that it's looks like gibberish to him. So Picard asks Troy to accompany them when they go to meet him in the transporter room to get her impression, to see if she sees anything. So they go down to the transporter room with their chief engineer, Chief Argyle. Seems like in every episode in the first series, pretty much. There's a different chief. They get 3 chiefs, like nobody's business.
Picard did say, take one of our chief engineers, which, clearly later on, like, the chief engineer is the chief engineer. There's not multiples of them. Otherwise, who would be the chief? But, yeah.
The thing is, Roddenberry initially didn't even want to have the engineering set and didn't want to include engineering at all. He wanted this to be a bit more like...
That's crazy.
Like LA Law. He didn't want to think about like the engineering, like the lower decks. It was just all to be like the top level brass and the politics and all that sort of thing. But you can't tell stories about a starship in space without engineering. So that ended up... that concept ended up disappearing pretty quickly. That's
definitely
why they made LaForge chief engineer in the second season. So they meet the guy on the transporter room, and this chap's called Kosinski, and he's ticked off because the captain hasn't come down to meet him, and he likes, why is captain not here? He's like, the engines should be important to a ship's captain, and he's like, it is important to him. That's why he sent his first officer down to meet you. And he seems like a right ass. And
he does, and I think he's a civilian, isn't he? Like, he doesn't have any
no, he doesn't have any
like military rank, and I think they call him
combat.
Mister and stuff. So
yeah.
And there's a supposed gaff, although I've looked at it a couple of times. I'm not sure I'm with it, but people are saying that when he's in the transporter room, his little insignia thing is silver, and then later on it's like black with a silver line. But I think it might have just been like a lacquered shiny surface and was reflecting like a stage light or something in that initial.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think it actually changed. I think it just, by the way it was reflecting the light, makes it look silver in the first bit. But yeah. Who knows?
And he's got an assistant now. He introduces his assistant
from Tau Alpha C.
From Tau Alpha C. So as they go on, Troy, Riker's like, what do you think? And Troy's like, confirms that as far as she can tell, he's loud, arrogant, and self-confident. But apart from that, she can't really read anything else. But strangely, she doesn't read anything at all from his assistant. Like, he's a black hole.
Like, he's not even there.
He's not even there. Dun, 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 dun. So Act 1, they go to engineering, and Wes is there, and he's like, why is a boy in engineering? He's like, he's working on a school project. Good job he's in engineering. Again. Flagship of the Enterprise would be not so well off if it wasn't for a school kid hanging out in engineering all the time. It's like they need a chief engineer there.
If it weren't for those meddling kids or kid.
And so they probe Kaczynski, and he's like, "Oh, your minds couldn't possibly take it, and I'm not here to be a teacher. I'm here to do the thing." And eventually, they're like, "Well, you're not going anywhere unless you do explain it." And he's like, "Well, I'll speak to the captain." He's like, "It's not going to make any difference." So in the end, he's like, "Okay, I'll
let me break this down as simply as I possibly can." It's very annoying.
So whilst he's breaking it down, Wes starts talking to the assistant, and Wes is already like looking at the model on the screen. Is already like, well, shouldn't that be connected to that and that be over that? And like the assistant's like, yes. So Wes has already improved on Kaczynski's algorithms
and clearly impressing this mysterious alien.
Yes. And so on the bridge, Picard orders LaForge to go to warp 1.5 after confirming everything's ready, and they start putting in their things, and they go to warp 1. Oh, sorry, I forgot to. I'm just talking like. People that may not know what we're talking about, there they are meeting them in the transporter room. So that's Kaczynski.
And that's where his thing looks silver.
It is, but actually it's not all silver, is it? It's got like a silver bit here, and then this is a different colour bit here.
Yeah, but I think when he's in engineering, it's like black with a silver bar across it. But I think it's just the way the light's shining off it. But I could be wrong. It's hard to tell.
I think a light is shining off it though, and that's his assistant there from Tau Alpha C. There we go.
That guy definitely looks like he has dyed hair. I don't know why, but he really does.
What?
Kaczynski.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. He also, for some reason, reminds me of Wyom from, or the actor that plays Wyom from Deep
he
Space
does
Nine.
a little bit.
He's got that sort of mouth.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I can't do it, but he's got the. Look at his mouth, like he's just got Wyom's, or the actor, that same. It's not him, but he reminds me of it. Plus, he's like his pomposity as well. Just reminds me of it, you know. Wes the Wiz, yes, stupid. He is Wes the Wiz. Thank goodness for Wes. So they go to 1.5 and they start inputting their calculations. And Wesley noticed that the assistant, messes up basically because he's so busy like looking at Wes and going, "Oh, look at me."
Grown man distracted looking at a young boy.
I think he needs to be on some sort of register or a couple of times through this episode you're just like, keep an eye on him, right? Don't leave them two alone, right? Just
he's definitely enamored, that's for sure.
Yeah. So he's busy looking back at Wes, and it all goes wrong in front of him. And Kaczynski's like, "What are you doing?" And so to correct his mistake, he phases out of existence. He all goes sort of semi-transparent, and ends up taking the Enterprise past warp 10, and they overshoot their target by some way. So then on the bridge, Picard orders a reverse thrust full stop sort of thing, and they're like, "Oh, don't know, we've never done it from this speed before," but they bring the ship to a full stop, and he's like, "Where are we?" And Data's like, I can't remember what he says about the readings. He's like, "Oh, I think this must be malfunctioning or something," because we've basically passed 2 galaxies and we're in galaxy M33, some
2.7 million light years.
2.7 million light years away, and it's going to take us over 300 years to get back home.
Goof.
Go on. It's never going to take. It's going to take them far longer than 300 years, surely.
Yeah.
It'll take them like 100 years to get from one side of the galaxy to the other. 3 galaxies away, it's going to take them like hundreds of thousands of years.
Well, you think with Voyager, sort of 70,000 light years would take about 70 years. So if they're 2 million light years away, it's going to take over 2,000 years, or well, probably 2,700 years if they're 2.7 million light years away.
They just probably thought the audience can't cope with those sort of figures, so we'll bring it down. We'll bring it down for our audience. Yeah, and dun dun dun. It's going to take us 300 years to get home. Advert break. Act 2.
Although, did you? Because then they send off a I don't know if this is in the next act, but they send off like a beacon or something, and then they say, well, it will take like 51 years to get back.
Do they? Oh, I missed that bit. I didn't write that bit down.
Yeah, well, they say something like, send a signal back to the Federation, and Data says, yeah, fine, and it's like the time that he says is the weirdest thing. He says, yes, message is sent, but at normal subspace speed, that will take 51 years, 10 months, 9 weeks, and 16 days to get back to Federation, which is really odd, because why would you say 10 months, 9 weeks, and 16 days? It was actually 52 years, 2 weeks, and 3 or 4 days. But
you worked that out, yeah.
It's like weeks and months different in like 400 years time.
I didn't pick up on that either. That is really strange.
There you go.
Yeah, really crazy.
It's used to, sometimes if Data's babbling in a way that just makes you want to tune him out, it's worth actually paying attention to what he's saying.
Yeah. I'm sure they probably play around with what he says a lot, and he's often just quoting gibberish. There's the Traveller phasing out of existence there, and this is them in M33, 3 galaxies over. They make it look.
There's
really
also,
odd.
I mean, I don't know about this stuff. You're the, astronomer, but there's this sort of big reddish, blackish planet thing with like a swirling masses around it. And apparently, according to those that know about these things, they were saying that there's no way the naked eye would see stuff swirling around a mass. Unless it was a black hole, in which case the Enterprise would have been way too close to it to survive. But if it was a planet, which was I can't remember what it was, like I think Data says it's like a planet that's just, or it's a star just being formed or something like that.
Yes, yeah, it's a protostar.
Protostar. If it was, then the stuff that's swirling around it would be going, so slow that the human eye wouldn't be able to see it. But instead, it seems to be swirling around at about like once a minute rotation, which would just be crazy.
Yeah, it's like when you see like a supernova exploding, the material exploding from it is traveling like at a fraction of the speed of light. But to us, it just looks like it's at standstill, because it's so ginormous. You need like a time-lapse photography over like 100 years to actually see any movement.
The one for the Star Geeks, but yeah, apparently the whole vista they were looking at was not astronomically correct.
No, it was just supposed to
imagine
look...
that would be the case a lot of the time. Yeah, it just looked pretty and swirly.
Alien and pretty, like not of our galaxy type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so yes, Act 2, we are back, and Kaczynski sort of swaggers onto the bridge, claims that he's done the unthinkable, and the warp barriers are now a thing of the past, and what went wrong? He was just spouting all this technobabble, and Picard was like to Riker, "What's he talking about?" And Riker was like, "I don't know, it sounds complete gibberish to me." And back in engineering, Wes asks the assistant if Kaczynski's actually a joke, because he's realised that actually it's all down to him. He goes, "No, that's too cruel," but
yeah.
And they go on to talk about the fact that, well, you see in the equations as time and space and thought. And, he was putting his sort of very being into the equations. And the assistant's shocked by how perceptive Wes is and how advanced he is for a human, And so back on the bridge, Picard orders Kaczynski to take them back right now. And so they head back down to engineering, and Wes tries to intercept Riker, and he's like, I've got to tell you right now, it's a really important thing. And Riker's like, yeah, okay, not now, Wes. And he's like, yeah, but sir, the assistant is like, he's like, Wes, I'm sure this is really important, but now's not the time. And Wes like, oh okay. And Riker just doesn't want to listen, does he? He didn't learn his lesson from the Naked Now.
Correct.
And the assistant doesn't look too well at this point. He's looking very ropey. And so they do the reverse, put everything, start the equations, order it go to warp 1.5. However, because the assistant is now not his best, he phases and sort of loses concentration and collapses whilst in the middle of doing it, and takes the Enterprise past the warp 10 barrier into speeds that are uncalculable, and basically transports the Enterprise over to the other side of the universe. Overshoots the Milky Way galaxy by some couple of billion light years and takes them to the edge of known space.
Which is also very pretty.
It is very pretty. Have we got a picture of that one? So
It's all these
here
like,
they are, preparing
looks
to
quite
take
Christmassy.
them back. Here they are, zipping back. Oh no, we don't have a picture of where they are when they're on the other side. But yes,
Kind of like blue and fluffy and all these little sparkly light things moving
surrounded by
around.
these sparkly lights, which I don't know what they are.
No, but they're quite pretty and quite Christmassy.
I'm taking it's I don't know, some alien life forms or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the universe is in theory the same everywhere you go. They should see exactly the same thing. There, you should find stars and
Blackness with little pinpricks of light.
and planets, and it should be exactly the same as what you get here. I think it's your universe is fairly uniformed. Actually, more than likely, you end up in the middle between multiple galaxies, and you're actually just in nothingness. More than likely, you're not going to hit any. You're not going to find anything. Unless you're.
Seems like they've almost like shifted into another plane of existence,
Yeah, it's
though,
kind of
rather
what
than
they're
just
going
another
for, isn't it?
place in space.
A bit like when Voyager goes into fluidic space by accident. But, yeah. It would be great, Stu Plum, to have this in 4K. Yeah. It would be great. But no, we don't have it in 4K. We have it in HD. And be thankful for that, because we don't even have Deep Space Nine in HD. CBS don't think it's financially viable to upscale Deep Space Nine into high definition, which to me is a travesty.
I love Deep Space Nine. It's literally my favourite of the Star Trek series. Is controversial. Shouldn't have said that.
It's my favourite. I'll tell you, it's my
Never
favourite.
used to be.
It's my favourite now. It's absolutely my favourite. Yeah. No, for sure. Without a doubt. I absolutely love it. It's aged like a fine wine as Deep Space
It's
Nine.
just great. Love it. There's like, I don't know, 2 episodes I don't like, It's like just so
fantastic.
much of it's quality.
Well, we'll do a Deep Space Nine review show in a couple of years' time when we're finished with TNG.
Yeah, I know. It's literally going to take us years.
Years.
How about when I reach target weight, we stop the diet podcast and we alternate between TNG and Deep Space Nine each Wednesday?
Yeah, we could do. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So, Act 3. We just
People start seeing things.
They start seeing things. So Worf sees a Targ from his childhood on the bridge. Yar sees a cat. Picard nearly gets off the lift into nothingness, into a spatial void. There's a guy playing a violin.
Yeah, in an orchestra.
Someone in the cargo bay being a
ballerina.
Dancer. And then Picard sees his mama.
Maman.
Yar says that, it's a cat from when she was like trying to escape the rape gangs on her own planet. And yes, so they're all seeing things. And Riker disturbs Picard and carts him off to engineering.
I was going to say,
and
carts him off to the funny farm then.
yeah, Picard, realizing what's going on, very quickly orders red alert. It's like red alert, and then
All
he's
quarters.
like, all hands, be aware. You're all seeing things, so be aware. So Picard asks Kavinsky what he's done, and Riker informs him that it wasn't him; it was his assistant. And he was like, "Oh, it comes. We didn't realize that." And he's actually, Wes noticed. He's like, "Why didn't you tell anyone, Wes?" And Wes is like, and Riker's like,
Try.
"He did. He tried to tell me twice." And Picard's like, "You're fired." No, he's not. He should have done something I don't know. You can't. He's a kid. So Wes explains to them all exactly what happened, and the assistant's lying on a sick bed in the middle of engineering.
Yeah.
So they cart him off.
At first, my note said he's in sick bay, and then I scribbled that out and put note on a stretcher in sick bay.
Yeah,
on a stretcher in engineering.
Yeah. I noticed as well that the engineering desk in the middle is still semi-white. So eventually they cover it in black, but at the moment it's still got all the white panels on it, because that table is from Star Trek 4. I may have mentioned this before. The Voyage Home. It's in the Federation control room when they're monitoring the probe searching for whales.
Oh, right.
And it's what they use to talk to
I don't
Kirk.
think you did. You said about the corridors and stuff and how that gets replaced with panels. But...
So yeah, that central console's reused from Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. And in that, it's white. And it starts off white in TNG, and they gradually add black bits to it, and it's still sort of half black and white at the moment, but later on it becomes all black. So the assistant, they take to sick bay. They finally take him up to sick bay, and Picard gets Beverly to wake him up, and she's like, "Well, no, can't." He's like, "Look, we've got to get out of here."
he's the only one that can help us. He's the only one.
They've got no choice. So she wakes him up, and they have a chat, and the Traveller gets him to tell him who he is, and he says he's from Sete Alpha C or whatever it is. And he's like, what do you do? He basically tells him he's a traveller, and the only point of it is just travelling around to see things, and he hasn't revealed himself to humanity yet because humanity's only just become interesting enough to warrant investigation and stuff, and he agrees to help them get back home. And then before they go off to he makes a sudden miraculous recovery. They help him back up, and he's dusts himself off, and before they go back to engineering, he wants a private word with Picard, and he tells Picard that Wes is to time and space as Mozart is to music. First he's like, "Do you know this thing called music?" And Picard's like, yes, I know music." He's like, "Have you heard of Mozart?" Well, Wes is time and space as Mozart is to music, and urges Picard to encourage him without interfering in his development. So then we get this notion that Wes is a special boy, and he sees him as a special boy. Again, keep an eye on that dude, right? and they head back off down to engineering to sort it out, and then Picard heads back to the bridge, but on the way he comes up against a crewman who's set the corridor alight, and he's like, "Put it out in your mind.
Control it with your mind."
Yeah. And the guy sorts himself out eventually. And then basically they do everything they need to do to get back. They do the reverse of how they got there. But this time Picard goes over the whatever it's called, ship-wide communications, and tells the crew to have the Traveller in their thoughts and send him well-being, and so the Traveller can use the thoughts of the entire crew to help make sure they get back safely. And And that all seems to work. And they do everything. And the Traveller's like, oh, I need your help as well, Kaczynski. You've got to do your masqueradey thing, because I can't do it without that. Without you pretending in the corner. So, yeah, they do everything. And on the way back, he does his phasing out thing, but he goes the whole way. And as they arrive, he phases out completely and disappears. And then... we got just moving the pictures on a little bit. Oh, there's Picard.
Maman.
That's him telling him all about Wesley with his gammy hands. And then at the end, mindful of the Traveller's advice, Picard calls Wesley to the bridge. So he takes a seat on the bridge. And Picard, in light of everything he's done, and because he can't let civilians on the bridge, he makes Wesley an acting ensign, because only commissioned officers can have a place on the bridge, and the lowest rank of a commissioned officer is an ensign, so he makes Wesley an acting ensign, and he takes his place on the bridge. And I think it'd be good. It's a good move, because it means now Picard doesn't have to see those absolutely ridiculous jumpers.
Well, I was just about to say that, bearing in mind that we're missing G-Star, then it deserves a word for Wesley's really, really gopping, weird, baggy, frilly jumper creation that he's wearing, because what were they thinking?
I don't know. It's about 4 sizes too big.
Yeah, and it's got a whole bunch of textures all over it, and
it's got
just
a lot
about
going
the most
on,
terrible colour.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on.
It's pretty bad. G-Star, not here in person, but here in
G-Star,
spirit.
Not here in person, but here in our thoughts. Yep. So he takes his place on the bridge, and they warp off to their next adventure. And everyone's hoping he'll be in a nice ensign's uniform for the next episode. Probably including the Traveller, to be honest. Yeah.
Smile of Rainbows suggesting that we all use our positive thoughts for, LJ, who's sort of got coronavirus at the moment. And also I would add to that Ludacris's best friend, Gary Pixley, who's also got coronavirus at the moment. So thoughts to all of our friends and family out there at the moment that are suffering. Hopefully our positive vibes, like helping the Enterprise get home, will help you guys get better.
Yes, absolutely. And that's our rundown of those 2 episodes. 2 good episodes. 2 episodes that set out things that are useful plot points for future episodes, like the Ferengi, Wes Genius Boy Wes, and the Traveller and his future, and lots of Star Trek-y TNG things, and not wasteful episodes like that last one that we had to watch.
And do we know what the next ones are? I haven't checked, actually.
I will check for you now, so we can let Stu Plum know, because I know he likes to watch them.
And Karen's sending some distanced Reiki to those with COVID too.
Oh, thank you, Karen. So it's Lonely Among Us and Justice. So, yes.
Are they good ones? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I'm sure they will be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's find out.
I think Lonely Among Us is good. No, I ain't got
Cool.
time to read about it. But it's Lonely Among Us and Justice.
I just thought you would have known in your encyclopedic brain.
I would
That's
have
all.
done. I would have done at one point. I would have done, but it's been too many years since I watched the first series. Now, I used to know them all off by heart, but no, I've forgotten it all now. I'm too old. Yeah. Yeah. Have you got any other points that you haven't
No,
mentioned from your notes?
I scattered the goofs and such throughout. The only one, well, in fact, there was one that I didn't mention, but because he was speaking gibberish anyway. But it was that Kaczynski. He said he applied like the controls asymptomatically, which really doesn't make any sense at all. Like not even vaguely in an engineering concept. And there are some people that are saying they think it was asymptotically, which is actually like a mathematical term, and that probably as an actor he got the word wrong. But who knows? Because what he was talking about was, all wrong and gibberish anyway, then who knows? But that's the only one I didn't mention. But no, that was it for me. Goof Girl out.
Goof Girl out. Well, thank you for joining me on this. I wonder if we should have like a rating for each episode. Like out of 10.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And at the end of the episode, give our rating.
But do we rate it, or do we get the viewers to rate it?
Oh yeah, does everybody want to rate this episode?
Maybe if we rate it, and then the viewers can rate it, and then we'll take like an average.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
Well, for these two, I would say it depends what standard you're judging it by, really. But I would say for the last Outpost, I'd say it's like maybe a 6, which I'd say is quite good, considering how good stuff gets with things like Best of Both Worlds and stuff later, so it's on a scale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like a sort of a 5 or 6. And then I'd say this second one, for me, I liked it a bit less than the first one, so I'd say more like a 5. So I give it a 6 and a 5.
I think that's very fair. That's what I would have given it, because I prefer.
Oh, you're just copying me now.
No, I'm not. I preferred the
Next week we'll write them down, and we'll go. We'll have to get little paddles like they have in Strictly.
Yeah, you could do. 7. But no, I think you're right. I think neither of them are like, absolute classics, but I did enjoy the Ferengi episode. The Ferengis are fun. I thought there was a lot of funny moments with Data and Geordie, and it was just an all-round fun episode. And the quirkiness of the Ferengi. I think the second episode was a lot drier. The main guest star in it was really annoying, and the Traveler's quite creepy. And it's about Wesley, and it was a solid episode, but it wasn't. I'd even go for like, I don't know, a 4.5 and a 6.5 maybe, but I think 5 and 6, or 6 and 5 is.
And Stu Plum concurs. 6 and 5.
6 and 5. Yeah, I think we'll go with that.
Go.
All right, quickly. Encounter at Farpoint parts 1 and 2.
I'd say it's difficult because it's a feature length.
Very difficult, this one.
I mean, it had Q in it, which is a plus. I'd say maybe a 6.5. I think it's pretty
6.
good.
We'll say 6. Naked Now.
I'm going to have to give that a 7 just because of the
7?
comedy. Yeah, because of the comedy elements and such like. I did find, it is one of the most entertaining episodes of the first series, I think.
I think it gets better as the series go on, because as you get more used to the characters and what they're supposed to be like, you then go back and watch The Naked Now, and it's even funnier because it's such a juxtaposition to what you know. And the Code of Honor.
Probably like maybe a 3.
That's what I had in my head. You're totally
So
in
you're going to
sync.
make a recording of all these, are you?
Yeah, I've written them down. 6, 7, 3,
Cool.
6, 5. Yeah. So far, the Naked Now's in front with a joint pilot and the Last Outpost.
And we may need to consider it on a series by series basis, but yeah. Cool.
We can have a little award at the end of the season for our favourite episode.
Yeah.
We know the Naked Now's probably already won, but you never know. We may be surprised. Now we're coming back to it older and wiser and different with different eyes. We might find that we like other episodes that come at us by surprise that we don't even remember. Be like, I don't realise how bloody good that episode was.
Mm-hmm.
That happens.
For sure.
It happened certainly in Deep Space Nine, in my watching of Deep Space Nine recently. Just like some of the episodes, I absolutely love them. And some of them I'm like, I don't even remember this episode.
So great. I've watched it so many times that there's no way there's an episode I don't remember of DS9. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Right. So thank you very much, Mazin with Bob.
My pleasure.
For another TNG filled episode and for donning your uniform.
Always.
Thank you, chat, for being on chat and for joining in and contributing. It's much appreciated. And we will see you back here next week, 8 o'clock on Wednesday for the Diet Podcast to see the terribleness that is my weight statistics and the wonderfulness that probably is Maria's.
It was doing great up till the weekend. Then it went a bit wrong, but it's back on track again.
Good. Yep. So, and also, not this Friday. It was going to be this Friday, but because of people not being well, we're going to delay the Monty Zone until a week Friday. So, the end of next week is the Monty Zone, where we're going to be talking about Atlantis. And
that's very cool.
The theories of Atlantis, the legend thereof.
Love it.
Yes. So, thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your week.
Karen's asking if my weekend was anything to do with the gins. Well, I did get a little bit snacky after the gins on Saturday. But no, I was feeling bad on Sunday. Nothing to do with the gins.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And see you later.
Bye.
Cheers.